Does your home still look cluttered no matter how often you clean? You put things away, clear the counters, maybe even reorganize a few drawers, but somehow it still looks busy. Well, that's because clutter isn't just physical stuff, it's also visual noise. It's how your home is arranged, how different objects compete for your attention, and how your eye moves through a room. So in this video, you'll learn the small, subtle changes that instantly make any space feel cleaner without throwing anything out. And by the end, you'll see how order can feel effortless even in the busiest rooms of your home. So the fastest way to cut visual clutter isn't always by owning less, it's by giving everything a clear, consistent home. Because when items land in the same spot all the time, the space instantly feels intentional instead of chaotic. But you don't even have to hide everything away. The goal is to corral the small, everyday stuff so it looks thought out rather than scattered. And once every object has its place, the rest of your home starts to follow that same rhythm, and that is where real calm begins. So the easiest way to start is with a catch-all tray by your entryway, so the spot where your keys, wallets, and sunglasses usually get tossed. And by turning that drop zone into a defined space, it changes the whole rhythm of how you enter and leave your home. You'll never have to search around for your small essentials, and the area that used to feel like a dumping ground now looks deliberate and clean. Then you want to move on to transition zones like your stairs, where clutter tends to collect naturally. Like you see here, a woven stair basket turns that in-between spot into something pretty useful. A quick place to park books, magazines, or anything that needs to go upstairs later. And it keeps the steps clear while quietly adding warmth and texture. Now, in your living room, storage doesn't need to look like storage. A woven ottoman with a lid doubles as both a coffee table, but it also secretly hides throw blankets, games, or chargers underneath. And so it's one of those small swaps that instantly tidies up your room without changing the layout. For open shelving, keep the look consistent by using matching baskets or bins. So that way, instead of having random objects fighting for your attention, you just get clean, uniform lines that visually calm your space. And each basket becomes its own little drawer, so the shelf looks styled even when it's doing real storage work. And then you want to bring that same principle to your desk. So having a compact organizer, which will keep your notebooks, cables, and all your daily gear contained, offers enough structure to stop things from drifting, but it's still open enough that you'll actually use it. And so when all these little containment zones work together, every surface starts to feel clearer, calmer, and easier to maintain. But now you want to turn your focus to your surfaces, because that's where clutter usually comes back first. Tables, countertops, and shelves all collect things that don't belong there, but the fix isn't to clear them completely. Instead, you want to edit them with purpose. So in the kitchen, clean lines make all the difference. So you want to only keep the things that you reach for daily, so the coffee machine, maybe a couple matching bottles of soap, and then hide everything else. This is a super simple shift, but it makes your space feel better designed instantly, especially when you allow the materials to do the talking. Because the moment you remove all that excess, your kitchen starts to feel organized even before you clean it. And that same idea translates perfectly to open shelving, because you want to leave room around the objects on those shelves and resist the urge to fill every inch. So when you only include a few pieces in neutral tones, maybe a piece of pottery, some framed art, or some stacked books, it feels so much more like a curated display instead of actual storage. And when you give things space, even everyday objects start to look more elevated. And so it turns your shelf into a quiet focal point rather than background clutter. And you should also bring this sense of quiet balance into your bedroom, because a nightstand feels so much calmer when it's stripped down to its essentials. A lamp, a candle, and maybe a low bowl or vase to add a bit of texture. Having an open surface like that makes the whole room feel more restful without losing its personality. And so it's the kind of minimalism shift that immediately makes your bedroom feel hotel level tidy. And then you definitely want to apply the same restraint in your living room, because your coffee table doesn't need layers and layers of decor. If you just have a simple candle, maybe one of your favorite books, or a soft floral arrangement, that alone can anchor the space. Because when every surface has breathing room, your entire home starts to feel light and effortlessly put together, no matter how many things you actually own. Now, once your surfaces feel clear, it's time to tackle what ruins even the cleanest of setups, and that's cables and cords. They sneak under desks, behind TVs, and across your floor, and they instantly break that sense of order that you've been trying so hard to build. But with a few smart fixes, you can make them disappear without losing any function. And the result is a space that looks lighter, cleaner, and so much more finished, even when your technology stays exactly where it is. So one of the easiest tricks is to hide your cables in plain sight by using them as part of your setup. And so a woven basket with a plant or decorative piece on top instantly disguises routers, power strips, or other small pieces of tech. And what used to draw attention now blends in with your space, which creates a clean corner that looks styled, not cluttered. And it's the same function, but it's just disguised through design. But if you want something more built in, then you can try a docking drawer. It keeps your laptop, chargers, and your devices powered, but it's still completely out of view. And so you can charge everything in one place and still close the drawer, which leaves your desk or counter completely clear. It's one of those upgrades that makes the space feel custom, even if it's a small, simple change. Now, for desks or workstations, a cable management tray under the tabletop is the ultimate fix. It hides all the dangling cords and gives your desk a lighter, more open look. And even without changing your furniture, you'll notice immediately how much calmer it feels when nothing hangs below eye level. And then there are the small but powerful fixes, so cable clips, Velcro ties, rubber bands, or even a reused paper towel roll to corral those loose wires. These details might seem minor, but they stop the clutter from forming in the first place. And once the cords are neatly bundled, your surfaces feel so much more organized. And if you want the cleanest finish possible, a cable box can tuck away power strips completely. You can just use one beside your TV or your workspace and keep everything contained inside. And it's a quick fix that anyone can do. You just drop your cords inside, close the lid, and your space instantly looks neater. So now that we've got some of the fundamentals under control, let's take a deeper dive into your entryway and other transition spots, the places where clutter starts before it spreads. Because bags, shoes, and mail always find their way there, but instead of fighting it, you should just plan for it. Because a few small drop zones keep those daily messes contained while still looking intentional. And once those specific areas start working smoothly for you, your entire home feels easier to keep organized day after day. So my suggestion is to start with a few wall hooks, because they're cleaner and easier to manage than one overloaded coat rack. And then hang only what you reach for most, so your jacket, maybe a hat, or your everyday tote bag, and then keep everything else tucked away. This keeps your wall functional but still visually balanced, especially when you line the hooks horizontally instead of stacking them. And it's the kind of change that instantly calms the entryway because nothing feels piled or improvised anymore. Then add a small bench with some shoe storage underneath. Shoes are one of the biggest visual distractions in any entryway because they never sit evenly and they always multiply fast. But having a two-tier rack or a cubby keeps them all contained, while the bench above gives you a practical spot to sit or drop your bag when you come in. And if you use an umbrella frequently, then you want to get yourself an umbrella stand instead of leaning your umbrellas just in a corner next to the door. A woven or metal umbrella stand adds a bit of texture while keeping everything upright and out of the way, and even when it's empty, it still looks like a small accent piece instead of storage. And your goal is to make organization feel like part of the room's design, not something hidden or just purely functional. And since loose papers are a guaranteed source of visual noise, a wall-mounted mail basket can be a pretty good idea. Instead of tossing envelopes and bills on the table, they just land in one contained spot where you can deal with them later. So choose one with a wire or mesh front so that you can still see what's inside without it feeling heavy. It's a quick system that quietly removes clutter before it ever hits your surfaces. But one of the biggest clutter culprits hides behind closed doors, and I'm talking about your closet. And that's where things pile up fast, not because you own too much, but because small disorganization just multiplies over time. And so streamlining how you hang, fold, and separate your clothes doesn't just tidy your wardrobe, it changes how calm your entire bedroom feels. So for a quick, easy win, start with some matching slim hangers. Switching to a single color and thickness immediately brings calm to your closet because every piece hangs at the same height and with the same spacing. So it's a really small swap that makes even an average closet look a little more high-end. And so you can choose wood or velvet hangers if you want a more refined finish, because they're slim enough to save space, but also sturdy enough to keep your clothes from slipping. Then once you've done this, you'll notice how much cleaner your entire setup feels with almost no extra effort. Next, you want to place your laundry hamper right next to where your clothes come off. So whether that's beside your closet or in the bathroom. Because just like with all other forms of clutter, when laundry has a dedicated drop spot, you don't get those piles forming on your floor or on a chair. I suggest getting a double or triple compartment hamper so that you can sort your clothes instantly with lights, darks, and delicates, because that way you're already halfway to a load well before laundry day. Plus, the easier it is to toss clothes in the right place, the less likely clutter is to return. Now, for folded items, use clear shelf dividers to create vertical boundaries. This keeps your stacks of clothes from toppling over and stops shirts and sweaters from bleeding into each other. And visually, it just brings order to your shelves without hiding anything, so you can still see every item you've got, but everything is contained and uniform. And then finally, line your drawers with wooden dividers so that everything has its own lane. Fold or roll your clothes to fit within each section, so jeans, shorts, and shirts each in their own zone, and this keeps your drawers from turning into a mixed pile where you have to dig every time you need something. Plus, the warm tone of the wood adds that quiet sense of finish, which makes even a hidden drawer feel well thought out. And now that you've done all this hard work all around your home, you want to bring that same sense of order into the busiest part of your home, which is probably your kitchen. Because between packaging, utensils, and all your cleaning products, the kitchen is the hardest room to keep visually quiet, but the payoff is huge. So the first place to start is with labeled baskets for snacks and condiments. When you group similar items inside woven or metal bins, it instantly cuts down the chaos of packaging that you normally see in your pantry. Plus, it's also much easier to find what you need and faster to put things back, which means you accumulate less mess over time. Combine it with neutral tones or matching tags to make your shelves look cohesive, or you can also use clear jars with minimal labels for your dry goods. The important thing is that you remove store packaging to reduce the visual noise and make your shelves feel so much nicer. Next, you want to declutter your tools and add wood dividers for your utensils. Now, before organizing, you should remove duplicates so you only keep what you actually use, because there's no need to have 3 identical ladles. But this way, each piece has its own clear home, and you can instantly see what's missing or what might be out of place. And once you're done using something, just return it to the same spot. The consistent layout keeps your drawers from becoming junk zones, and the wood adds a bit of warmth that makes the space feel nice. Now, for the spots you rarely see, like under your sink, you can use stackable bins and label each of them for cloths, sprays, and refills so that nothing gets lost at the back. And the see-through sides make it easy to track your supplies, while the vertical stacking keeps everything compact. And when those bins fit together neatly like they do here, even a hidden cabinet feels well designed. And finally, bring the same level of order to your spice rack. Trust me when I say that keeping them in matching clear jars with clean labels makes a huge difference, especially if you cook often. When the jars are identical and arranged on a rack within reach, you'll always see what you've got, and it makes cooking so much smoother. So now you know how small, simple changes can cut 90% of the clutter in your home, which isn't about owning less, it's just about being smarter in how you store and arrange the things you already own. And so if you want to keep this momentum going, I've linked to a few other videos on reducing clutter down in the description below. But here's the thing, cutting clutter is only half the story, because once your space finally feels calm, the next step is learning how to keep it that way. So to learn how to turn this newfound level of control into your new normal, where every room in your house stays in order without you even trying, you need to watch this video next. I'll see you there.